Welcome to a new video on NEGAYO's channel, friends. On this occasion, we will talk about a quite interesting parallel land in this little section we call exploring the multiverse. We've discussed all known information about the universe of gods and monsters, as well as the universe of The Dark Knight Returns. And today we are going to Earth 898, where Superman is not part of the Justice League, as he was never found by the Kents. How did this lead to Lex Luthor becoming the mayor of Metropolis? Why is the greatest team of heroes rejected by society? What happened to Green Arrow to become disabled and protest against his former companions? How did Joker finally manage to drive Batman into madness? We'll split the story into 3 parts. I suggest turning on notifications so you don't miss new content on the channel. And if you really like this video, then it wouldn't be bad at all if you shared it with your friends to help me in the eternal fight against the YouTube algorithm. No? On this occasion, on the NEGAYO channel, the Justice League of America, The Nail. The title refers to a proverb from 1651 written by George Herbert, where a missing insignificant nail caused the loss of an entire kingdom. The same occurs in this novel. In this case, a flat tire caused farmers Martha and Jonathan Kent to decide to stay home 24 years ago, just as an unidentified flying object crashed in the middle of the field. So, if they weren't the ones who rescued the little crew member, then who was? Did Kal-El at least survive? We'll find out about that later, but for now let's go to the present, where Lex Luthor has been re-elected as the mayor of Metropolis. Though he has strict policies against metahumans, he has proven to be an effective politician in his role. As in this city, unemployment, taxes and crime are almost non-existent. And, on the other hand, healthcare and education are at the highest global level. Perry White was reporting this victory on the news, inviting the former's assistant to talk about the ban on metahuman activities in Metropolis. That person was none other than Jimmy Olsen himself. Despite being so young, he was one of the most qualified people to advise on metahuman issues in the administration, since in the past he has had a bit of history with accidents that have temporarily granted him special abilities. Like when he was Red Devil, when he was Turtle Boy, and also Elastic Lad. After all these experiences wanting to imitate his childhood heroes, Jimmy had reflected and told Perry that the real heroes were ordinary people. Police, firefighters, paramedics, and the mayor work for the common good, fighting to defend citizens' rights. During the broadcast, Perry White mentioned something very important about metahumans in this universe, and that is that they have existed for decades among society. The first great team of heroes was known as the Justice Society. They were there when they were most needed, but even though the villains disappeared, the heroes stayed in the world, acting as sentinels and guarding humans from danger. Years later, new enemies emerged, and with them also a new team of superheroes, formed by Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, Atom, Martian, Manhunter, Hooker, and Batman. However, some media outlets propagated fear towards these heroes, as unlike the Justice Society, they were humans with superpowers. The League was made up of an Atlantean who proclaimed himself as the master of the oceans, also an Amazonian, 2 aliens, an extraterrestrial police officer, and Batman, whose origin was unknown. No one knew if he was another alien or some kind of demon. The only truly human who ever belonged to the team was Oliver Queen Green Arrow. His sole talent was the superb mastery of mankind's humblest weapon. And unfortunately, this was not enough in the battle against Meso, where he was seriously injured and had to retire from the team. Tonight, he went to an interview with Perry White to present his version of the events. He immediately labeled the League as alien traitors. He claimed that their supposed fight against crime was just a well-organized farce, and they would eventually end up conquering the world. Meanwhile, the team of heroes watched this interview believing that someone was forcing Oliver to say such things. Green Lantern was sure that all of this was part of a propaganda campaign designed to fuel fear against metahumans. And it was the day when Green Arrow was injured against Meso, Hawkman was also killed. But none of that was mentioned on Perry's show. The heroes clearly had differences due to their nature, their way of acting, whether or not they had secret identities. Batman intervenes in their argument, suggesting that if Lantern's suspicions are accurate, it's exactly what the enemy wanted. Divide and conquer. That's why Jordan had called this meeting. Public opinion was important for the heroes to continue operating and for people to trust them. Enough not to vote for Mayor Luthor's laws, which were said to be about to be copied elsewhere in the world, due to the high effectiveness shown in Metropolis, where metahuman crime was non-existent. The Internal had invited a war correspondent journalist to the headquarters to help the Justice League. a woman with impeccable credibility named Lois Lane. In another part of the world, a team known as Outsiders also learned about Oliver's statements, claiming that all metahumans were aliens. Interestingly, after what happened with Amazoa, Dina Lance also resigned from the Justice League, thinking of creating this team to keep Oliver Queen as the leader and to give his life a purpose. Clearly this didn't work, but the group remains active anyway. They were currently on a search mission, and although the Outsiders did not interfere with the solo tasks of the other members, it was somewhat worrying that Metamorpho had not communicated with them for a couple of months, and Dinah did not want to fail another teammate again. Returning to the Justice League, Lois was willing to help the team with their public image. Batman found it absurd as he was only interested in catching criminals, not people's opinions. Lane replied that that was exactly the problem and that's why he had the worst image of all. In addition, Lantern asked the team to take this seriously as he recently discovered a group dedicated to defaming heroes. People too well organized that made the team suspect about an even bigger plan. Although Aquaman, for example, said that everything was too conspiratorial to be true. Meanwhile, at Arkham Asylum, in the middle of a conversation between Catwoman and the Doctor, we find out that Commissioner James Gordon was killed a long time ago. And as a result, the police acquired more weaponry to stop the criminals. It was no longer easy to be a villain. And for that very reason, Selina turned herself into the police so that they could psychoanalyze her. And that somehow this could contribute to the treatment of the inmates, in addition to her clearing her name, of course. This conversation is interrupted by a powerful explosion caused by Joker. The psychopath freed all the prisoners in the asylum thanks to his possession of highly advanced technology. The signal in the sky was lit and Batman was losing patience with his team. He insisted that he joined them to fight criminals and not to waste time worrying about what people think or to talk about imaginary conspiracies. The group couldn't rule out any possibility, and Batman kept saying they should better use their energy to look for criminals. Lloyd had enough of him, telling him that he was his own enemy and that his sick crusade would be the downfall of the Justice League. Sooner or later, he would give the media the necessary reasons to outlaw metahumans, definitely. At that moment, Batman received an emergency call from Robin reporting on what happened at Arkham Asylum. Even though anyone on his team could have gotten to the scene much faster. The Bat rejected their help, having no idea that this would be one of his worst mistakes. Lois Lane's words were about to become reality. The League meeting was declared over. As Lantern was taking Lois to the city, she asked him why the team partnered with an obsessive like Batman. Despite his sinister nature and cruel methods, Lantern defended him as a brilliant and disciplined criminologist, a person advocating for the greater good. And in this way, Lois discovered that indeed Batman did not possess powers as many thought. Even so, Lois maintained what she had said before. For things to get better, people needed someone to trust. They needed a champion of truth and justice to pay. Separate, the rest of the superheroes began to question their actions, even their appearance. Before, Shajira had blamed Wonder Woman for not achieving anything as an ambassador of the Amazons. Hug Girl said that politicians only used her to look good in photos. Martian Manhunter did not agree with this and considered Diana to be the most reliable on the team. Instead, he had not believed that his humanoid appearance would be used as negative publicity to attack his teammates. So despite Wonder Woman's words, he decided to say goodbye and disappear until things calmed down. The rest of the League also continued to discuss this alleged hate campaign, and the laws and people's perceptions seemed to be taking effect. The group had begun to split. The Doom Patrol discussed Oliver Queen's accusations against the League at Dr. Niles Calder's mansion. They were not sure how this could affect them, as they had not been out fighting their enemies for some time. That was precisely what the Doctor was about to tell them. Rumors were circulating in the criminal underworld that several evil metahumans had been eliminated as part of a perfectly planned strike, and before revealing more about this, the mansion was attacked. The culprit was a shapeshifter, who managed to defeat the team without any problems. After completing this task, some armored agents ordered him to withdraw while they took care of the rest. In the city of Gotham, Arkham Asylum was surrounded by a force field that prevented the Commissioner from entering. Bullock and his men, as strange as it may seem, Robin and Batgirl could pass through it without a problem. Batman arrived at the scene and quickly deduced that this level of technology was too advanced for any other enemy they had faced before. The game was clear, someone wanted all three of them in the asylum, but Batman wouldn't let his companions follow him. At that moment, Hal Jordan was in his apartment recharging his power ring, although this time he felt that the connection to the battery was somewhat weak. He received an emergency call in his sector, and although he flew quickly to the location, he soon realized that the Earth was covered by an impenetrable force field. The emergency call had also been a hoax. It was just Star Sapphire. Wanting to verify that this shield was not only affecting her, Green Lantern tried to destroy it, but this shield absorbed all the energy with which it was hit. Sapphire withdrew. Leaving this in Jordan's hands, Hal was trying to find anomalies until, outside the shield, he managed to glimpse the corpse of Adam Strange. The champion of Rann seems to have collided with this barrier when trying to transport to Earth. Based on the decomposition level, he had been there for a minimum of 3 months. Since Hal had been going in and out of the Earth on several occasions recently, he deduced that this shield had been becoming increasingly stronger until it became impenetrable. This also explained the weaker charge of his ring. The only option was to seek help from the outside. To the rest of the Green Lanterns, Joker had easily ended the lives of multiple villains. With his power, he took over Arkham Asylum, forcing the others to fight each other to save their lives. Catwoman's attempt to confront him was futile. She was immediately immobilized, and Batman arrived at that moment to try to stop his enemy. Batman's tactics proved ineffective. He also fell prey to the clown's power, and although Batgirl and Robin had every intention of helping him, they were not enough to stop the threat. No one could stop this psychopath. He was eager to take revenge on Batman for all those times in the past where he was humiliated. He forced the Bat to watch his companions being slowly killed. Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson screamed in a heartbreaking way at the suffering as their skin was being peeled off, in agony. They begged for their mentor's help, but he simply couldn't do anything, just hoped that their pleas and tears would serve some purpose. The Bat was left speechless, contemplating the corpses of his companions before him. Joker was so happy to have achieved his revenge until he was attacked by Catwoman. This interrupted his concentration, freeing an enraged Batman who managed to brutally beat the killer, even with the disadvantage of powers. Both ended up on the roof of the building, where police and media were witnesses to this brutal beating. Tonight, hundreds of people through the news watched as the Dark Knight murdered the Clown Prince of Crime. And in those moments, Batman could only remember the words of Lois Lane. Finally, he gave the media reason to say that metahumans were only monsters. What will happen now with Batman, who is behind the conspiracy to end the superheroes? Will Hal Jordan manage to destroy the energy field surrounding the Earth? How is it that this dirty nail caused New Genesis and Apocalypse to go to war again? We'll cover that in part 2 of this story. Be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss the new content. Thanks a lot for stopping by, friends. See you tomorrow to continue talking about this alternate Earth. My name is Alex for the Negayo channel. See you later.